about time. Just kidding. Hey, we are on. Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hello. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry we're a little late.
My fault.
It's totally his fault.
As the usual.
It's the usual. Andy Schultz, Greg Tizer.
Turn down your volume.
Yeah,
noob.
I'll have to mute myself. I should do that all the time. Especially today at lunch. I don't know
Here,
what was,
YouTube is not.
I don't know what got into me
enough
at
video
lunch
to maintain
today.
Smooth streaming.
Hmm?
YouTube might be a little glitchy.
Not receiving enough video. Try to
Let's see.
reload it.
I'm doing.
Try to reload it. Yeah, Mike, probably my fault. Stella he got here at 12 o'clock, but we didn't really talk at all about
Yeah.
the plan for today. So instead, we ended up going off for lunch to Freddie's, and now we're here. And I don't know what happened at lunch. I was kind of getting aggressive. Mike's like,
Aggressive
that guy
eating.
should be on the podcast.
You ate
Like,
really fast. You were really aggressive. You ate
well, you were talking most of the time. Not in a bad way.
the usual.
The usual. But hey, anyway, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
I'm late getting in here. If you didn't notice,
Yeah, that's all
I'm
right.
trying to. Are we even on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
How come
And
I
I
am
shared
not?
it to the life group.
I'm not getting any notifications. There it is.
There it is. And I already put in the comment section that we're getting a little late start because Greg is waiting on Greg. How are you doing? Let me ask you this. Will you be drafting Freddie Freeman in your
I had him last year, right?
in our fantasy
Was it our
baseball
league?
draft?
I had him in one league last
How
year.
excited are you?
And I've always wanted Freddie Freeman. I finally got him last year, and he had kind of a subpar year. He was hurt for
Well,
1 year, right? Or-
like 3/4 of the year was mediocre,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he
then
just
he-
exploded
Yeah, but it was like the end.
because
And
he
it
still
was-
got to like a 290 batting average. He
He's
hit,
usually
like,
good
30
for 290,
33.
300.
30 home runs, 35 home runs,
We'll see how that plays in L.A.
and now he's on your beloved Dodgers.
Yes, he's a SoCal guy
Jeez.
coming home.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It was interesting watching pieces fall. Sorry, Diane, we're talking baseball.
It's gonna have to just put up with it, Diane, because it's baseball
Because
time.
all the potential suitor teams that like we're talked about started signing other guys, or the big one was when Atlanta went out and makes the trade to Oakland
All right,
for
Matt Olson.
Olson and signed him to an extension. And then you know for sure, okay, they're for sure not going to re-sign Freeman.
Yeah, maybe not, but just because he's a first baseman doesn't mean anything. Because
Yeah,
Matt
the
Olson
DH
played
now.
DH. Matt Olson played a little bit of right
Mm-hmm.
field. I bet Freddie could play right field too.
Yeah, but you know that was pretty much
Right.
a
It
done
was
deal.
kind of the writing is on the wall moment. But yeah, baseball. The Twins are making all sorts of weird, strange moves. Gary Sanchez,
Oh, that
just
feels
on the
dirty.
record,
Feel dirty.
saying watching Gary Sanchez flail about all year round is going to be annoying. But baseball is going to be back. So anyway, we don't need to talk about that today. You know what else? Today, sorry.
No, that was weird. They made the trade, Garver to Texas.
Well, I
for
love Garver. I'd rather have Garver.
Falifa. How do you falafel? I forgot his name.
Kiner Falefa.
Falafa.
But then they turn around and take Kiner Falefa
And flipped him.
and flipped him with Josh Donaldson to get Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez. Now, the one thing about that is like $50 million worth of Josh Donaldson contract that we got out of.
Yep.
So I get that.
So maybe they'll go make a run for Story.
I don't know.
Trevor Story's just hanging out there.
He is, but they don't really. They got a kind of a. They're deep in the middle,
Yeah.
you know.
But he
and
could-
now they have Gio Urshela at third.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say he could
So-
play third, but
I would rather have them spend more money on a pitcher, because they got Kenta Maeda, Dylan Bundy,
yeah,
Joe. What's his name? Joe.
Smith,
No, the young guy.
Doe,
He played in the Olympics.
Johnson.
Couldn't doing that. Joe.
Schultz. A lot of Schultzes around here,
There's one Schultz in baseball.
but there's a lot around
I think
here.
he's retired. Yes, there's a lot around Northridge. But anyway, I think they need one more good starting pitcher, and then maybe even a mid-tier outfielder. But anyway, that's enough
Is Jeff
baseball.
Reardon still closing? Did we get an answer to that? Mike asked that question last week.
All right. Mike knows probably the least amount of sports than any other guy that I know.
I mentioned my brother-in-law Joe a couple weeks ago that calls it sport ball.
Sport ball? Okay.
He sent me a text message a couple days after he listened to it. He
Joe
thought that was
Ryan.
funny.
Joe Ryan is the guy who played in the Olympics. We got him in the Nelson
Okay.
Cruz deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's going to be good, I think. Yeah. What's going on today? You know what today also is?
St. Patrick's Day.
It is.
That's what I thought about we need to talk about.
Right. It's St. Patrick's Day.
The real St. Patrick story.
The real St. You know, there's I was looking around at St. Patrick's Day facts, and there's some interesting facts, and there's also some interesting false, fake news facts about it.
Legend, tales, tall tales.
So I went to the most reputable one I think we can probably trust is history.com. Maybe. It seems like it would be the most.
Seems like it should be.
It should be.
It's history.
Right. So I went
You
to
can't have
history.
history.com and be wrong.
I went to history.com and they had 7 interesting facts about.
Let me see if I can name them.
Let's see if you can name them.
In honor of St. Patrick's Day, I Irished up my coffee for the pot. Just
Well,
kidding.
that's one of the interesting
kidding.
facts about St.
That's
Patrick's Day.
That's a Andy Rubel joke.
Right. I went to
Not true.
Freddie's in honor of St. Patrick's Day.
Just black coffee.
Do you know that St. Patrick was not born in Ireland?
Yes.
Where was he born?
England.
England. Very good.
English
You
parents.
know why the connection to Ireland?
He was kidnapped
Right.
by kidnappers. It's a human trafficking story. He was kidnapped
Right.
and taken to the area now known as Ireland, or I don't know if they were Celts that took him exactly or who, but it was, and he was enslaved, worked in the fields and the cattle, shepherd boy. He was a little shepherd boy, really connected to God through nature. So he had a lot of time out as a shepherd boy in nature, connecting with God. Let me see if I had any of these bullet points. Now, because some of his history, even what they think is history, gets fuzzy because there's like supposedly things he's written that are contradictory, and then legends get built off of them. But one night, he really got to know the people. He got to know the language. He got to know the people. One night in a vision while sleeping, God told him to run to the coast. There's a boat waiting for you. And it was a long ways to the coast. I mean, like, I want to say 20-some miles or something. I forgot. I read this years ago.
You seem to know a lot about
And there was a boat.
these.
And he got in this little boat and just took off. And he landed in the area known as, like, Normandy, I think, France.
Okay.
Or somewhere. Maybe it wasn't Normandy. It's somewhere on the coast in France.
How old was he at this time?
He was a boy, like probably teenager or young.
15?
Yeah,
Because he was kidnapped at 12.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know he was young, maybe adolescent or.
So
maybe
this is
younger.
even before his rise as St.
Yeah.
Patrick.
because he
Do you
then
know what
went
his
to
original
seminary.
name?
Ooh, I forgot.
Yeah, he wasn't
Joe
always.
Ryan. Joe Ryan,
He wasn't always known as.
St. Patrick. No,
Patrick's.
he wasn't even necessarily Catholic. That's interesting.
His birth name was Maywin
Yeah,
Succat. Succat. S-U-C-C-A-T. I have no idea how to say that.
you suck at saying that name.
Succat.
You suck at saying that.
But he
name.
changed his name to Patricius. Patricius
You could change your own name, and you went with Patricius.
after he became a priest.
Yeah, he became a priest.
So
Some renown.
that's fact.
And then, that's what the interesting part. How he became St. Patrick is then he goes back to the area to evangelize the people, not necessarily the same persons, but the people, like the group that had kidnapped him. And he knew their language, he knew them, and that was like in his 40s, I believe. And he goes and evangelizes, and his method of evangelism was because it was a tribal, like barbaric, like tribal people and groups, and he would go and try to evangelize the leader, like the chief or whatever, and then as the chief goes, the rest of the village goes, and then he would go on to the next one, build up leaders, and then go to the next one. And somewhere along the line, became a saint.
You know what one of his most popular messages was on?
Is it the Trinity and the clover? But that's like myth or legend, supposedly. That might not be true.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
It was a clover. You know what the chances of finding a 4-leaf clover is? It's like 1 in 10,000.
Now, how do they know?
I don't know.
Who knows these things? History.com?
Do you know that he was actually known for wearing blue?
Really?
Not
No.
green.
Did not know that.
Yes.
Interesting.
Green only became associated with the big day after the emergence of the Irish independence movement. Yeah.
I don't know if this is necessarily true because I've never been to Ireland, but I hear St. Patrick's Day is a bigger thing here than in Ireland.
It is.
Like here, it's just an excuse to go out and
You know where the first parade for St. Patrick's Day was held?
Boston.
Yes.
They have the big one, right?
Yeah. And do you know one delicacy that was invented here in America that we often associate?
Corned beef.
Right.
Irish
You're
cuisine.
You're killing it, man. Look at you.
Irish cuisine. I am a wealth of useless information. Irish cuisine basically takes like something that's inedible, boil it for a day and a half, add potatoes.
Yeah. Like blood sausage.
Yeah, yeah.
What's another myth that is often associated with St. Patrick's
Drove the
Day?
snakes out of Ireland.
Right. There you go.
There were never snakes in Ireland. But it's probably
Why were there no snakes in Ireland?
I think like Hawaii. There's no snakes in Hawaii. Just doesn't work. I don't know.
It's too cold in Ireland. That's why there are no snakes.
No,
Yeah.
there's snakes in Canada.
That's what scientists said. Scientists reckon Ireland's climate made it too cold.
Reckon? Wait, they use the word reckon? That is not a legitimate source. It's history.com, y'all.
Technically speaking, there are more Irish in the U.S. than Ireland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Estimated 34 million Americans have Irish ancestry. By contrast, there are only 4.2 million people living in Ireland.
Yeah. A lot of Irish came over early on as indentured servants. Like they sold themselves basically into servanthood, not necessarily slavery because they weren't necessarily taken, but indentured servanthood. They sold
like
themselves
ranch
into it.
hands and
Yeah, but it was a way to get
farmers
over
and
to the
stuff
new
like that.
world
Right.
or whatever.
Have you ever seen Far and Away?
No.
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman?
No.
It's actually a
never saw
good
that.
movie.
Is it?
Yeah, he's an Irish immigrant.
Yeah.
They're Irish immigrants, but yeah.
Jordan's grandmother, Grandma Castrero, is one of 17 children, Irish Catholic, grew up in New York. Her parents came here
Castrero. That sounds
from Ireland.
more
Well, her grandpa was Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, her parents came from Ireland, and she still has family back there and goes to visit and stuff. I'd love to go back someday.
Do you know where the largest celebration of St. Patrick's Day is in the United States?
Chicago,
No.
New York,
No.
Boston.
No.
I wasn't.
Savannah, Georgia.
What? Really?
Yes.
That's weird.
It is like their Mardi Gras. My
Really?
brother who lives in Savannah, he said there's almost 2 million people that come to the city
Really?
during St. Patrick's
That's
Day.
crazy.
They have a parade.
Yeah.
Up until, he said 2 years ago, they used to do the parade whenever the day of St. Patrick's Day was. So like this year it's on a Thursday. It just created havoc in the city.
Yeah.
So now 2 years ago, they decided to just move it to Saturday. Whatever the Saturday is closest
Yep.
to, St. Patrick's Day, they're going
Makes
to do it
sense.
that day. But his business, which is the pedal pub thing, shut down. They're out of business for like the week. So he's on
Oh.
vacation technically.
It's on vacation.
Yeah.
during
But
St.
he's like,
Patrick's.
I'm going to go shopping tomorrow and get everything I need for like a week as if I'm, shopping for a zombie apocalypse, because he's like, I'm not going to be able to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Come
That's weird.
Come
So the whole
Friday and
city
Saturday.
just kind of-
whole city they
Where lots of
block
people come
off
from
all the major
Atlanta
roads
and-
going into downtown, because basically the whole downtown area is filled with people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said that they did this year, maybe last year they started it, but they used to be open container down there where you could walk around with
Yeah.
alcoholic beverages on the street. He said they made a rule against that.
Sounds
this-
like a recipe for disaster on
Well,
St.
yeah.
Patrick's Day.
on St. Patrick's Day when
Yeah.
you have 1.5 million people there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge deal down there.
Savannah's already kind of a tourist town, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
It's older.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like that's
one
a-
of it's an old
Yeah.
city, but it's very touristy.
so, and then this time of year, you get a lot of us folks from up north on spring break going down south. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I was surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Chicago dyes the river green.
Yep. 40 pounds of green dye.
Ooh,
I read that earlier today.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's cool though to look at. You look at it and it's like, oh, it's just weird that they just put all these chemicals or whatever that is in the river, but it's still cool. It's kind of cool to look at.
Yeah. Where's your green? You're not wearing green today.
I know.
This
Whatever.
is my attempt to wear green. No,
It's
I didn't
olive.
even think of that.
I
This
didn't
isn't
either.
all. Is that all?
All my kids were wearing green on the plane today.
Why do they call it olive skinned? Are they green skin? They're brown skin.
Well, it's
Like-
more like there's different kinds of olives. Olive is okay.
Yes.
So Asher and I were talking about this the other day.
All right, but why would they
What-
call you olive skinned?
What other black food can you think of besides olive? Like black olives?
Black licorice with the anise.
That's candy.
I know, but it's food.
And anise or anise or however you say that. Is that what makes it
Yeah.
black?
But a naturally black
Yeah.
food. There was something that I had in my mind that I thought about that
I just couldn't think of
it's
one.
evaded my mind. Yeah.
Olives are, but then you got green olives, but what other black food is there? I don't know.
Comment if you know any other black foods.
Olives, and that's it.
Black beans.
Black beans, but they're more brown.
They're
when you
called
look at
black
it.
beans.
I know, but they're not. They're more brown. They're dark brown.
It's funny that the guy reminds me of, like people.
Olives are kind of more
kind of
really,
people,
really
right?
dark brown. But
Yeah, like blackberries aren't black.
no, they're blue.
Caviar.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Coffee.
But that's brown. You don't
Yeah.
call coffee.
No, they're
bl-
brown.
That's
We
weird.
call it black just because it's like
Yeah, I'll take a coffee black.
yeah without cream, but it's not. It's
Chia
brown.
seeds.
Are they black?
Yeah.
Okay.
They can be.
Chia.
Yeah.
That's not a food. That's a decoration.
So yeah,
All right.
do anything special?
took
Yeah,
you
have you
off.
ever had? No, I shouldn't ask that.
Took you off topic.
That's okay.
St. Patrick, the snakes thing, I believe they say is probably became legend. It probably had more to do with him, you know, quote unquote, driving the sin out of Ireland, and then that got equated to like snakes somehow. I don't know.
Exercise the demons. All right. Well, let's jump into some news, and then I got a topic I wanted to share.
All right. Besides St. Patrick, that's funny because that's what I was thinking of earlier. We should talk about St. Patrick.
Yeah, there you go. Tell us about the news, Greg. That'll be
Get a phone
kind of
call.
your thing.
Spam.
Spam probably. I get a lot. I get so many. At least 7 or 8 a day.
Yeah. It's bad.
Well, it's so lovely.
We got news.
Yes.
So, first of all, I don't know if it's first of all, but we got Easter coming up,
We do.
and a month from today.
Is it a month from
Date,
today?
well, date-wise, right? April 17th.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is that 4 weeks from this Sunday? Whenever it is, it's coming up.
It is.
So we have the Easter. One cool thing this year, Palm Sunday, we're doing the kids'
Right.
musical.
Yes, we didn't do Christmas musical this year with the kids. Instead, we decided to
It's
do an Easter
musical on the
musical
10th of April.
on the 10th, which is Palm Sunday, the beginning of Holy Week. And they're going to be in the service, and they're going to be sharing part of the service to do a musical that is written a lot by us and music that we've been using, VBS and all the kids and all that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
And so they've been working hard, practicing on the weekends, I know, and it's going to be awesome. So then the 10th, for both the 9 and 10:30 service, join us for the Easter musical, the kids. It should be awesome, as it always is.
Yep.
And then,
That kicks off Holy Week, and then
Yes.
that week we have Last Supper service on Thursday at 7.
yes, which you,
Me and Pastor Doug are going to kind of tag team on.
yeah,
Good Friday services, Friday night,
right.
obviously.
And we talked about that yesterday. We got a pretty cool plan for this.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool
So you
plans.
don't want to miss that. Want to be here. We have 2 services, 5:30 and 7 o'clock on Friday, Good Friday, which would be the 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14th, April 14th.
Or
15th?
15th.
So
15th. Friday's
terrible.
the 15th.
Friday the 15th. Yes.
It's
I
15th.
was trying to do, like, this is why I'm terrible with math. I was trying to work backwards. 17, 16, 15th. You're right. The 14th is Thursday.
Yeah. Then we got sunrise service Saturday or
Sunday.
I'm horrible with days. Sunday morning at 6 in the morning.
6:30.
Pastor Dan, 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay, with Pastor Dan.
6:30. Sunrise is set for that day at 6:24 technically
Dude,
on the almanac. What?
daylight savings might go away starting after next year.
What?
You didn't hear this? I passed the
I
Senate
don't know. We talked about it.
to do away with. It hasn't gone to the House,
trying
and
to-
you know hasn't been signed into law. But there's
Is-
legitimate move. But I was reading yesterday. You know what time
Is
sunrise?
this going to be Biden's legacy? Is that he?
Maybe,
was
but
the
you know
president?
what time sunrise would be in Minnesota in like December and January?
Like 8 something?
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's
8:10 to
crazy.
8:15 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was
That's
still
wild.
dark at 8 in the morning. That'd be
wild.
weird.
It'll be
Anyway.
dark when we start.
Yeah.
When we get here at church on
Yeah.
Sunday mornings.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Okay,
It's weird.
but it'll be light later.
Yeah, I don't. I guess I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't- whatever.
I just don't like losing an hour like last week.
Yeah.
I'm still not right.
No, it messes you up. It
I'm,
looks like
I'm,
in the
I'm less right this past week than I was when I went 4 hours to Hawaii
Yeah.
and back.
I believe, I heard this a couple years ago, daylight savings, when we move the clocks forward and lose that hour's sleep, is the top time for heart attacks in our country.
Really?
Like, yeah, sleep affects people
Where did
that
you hear
much.
this?
I heard a sleep expert talking about it a couple years ago. I have to go find that.
This is not a cardio.
We don't have Andy Rubel here to
not a
fact
heart
check.
expert though.
Yeah, he was just some guy.
Do you work for Sleep Number?
Yeah.
It's happening.
I just heard it. Have you heard the conspiracy theory about, you know, the store, the mattress firm, the mattress store?
No.
Have you heard that this might be like some weird money laundering scheme?
That company?
Yes. Okay, this is hard-hitting news in the middle of Holy Week services. That's what, I just saw this thing
Calling
today.
them out. Mattress firm.
No, I don't know. It's crazy, ridiculous.
The
But
next Ozarks.
no, you know, people can make up anything. So
Right.
it's just interesting. Someone was like,
So you hear this on TikTok?
have you ever noticed how many of these stores there are? And they show up like the Google Maps mattress firm in their community, and there's like 10 in this like really remote, or not remote, you know, close geographical area. And then I'm like, and I do Google Maps, and just on the West Metro, like how many there are in this corridor going down like 494, all within like 15 minutes of each other. And they're like, how can there possibly be that many people shopping for mattresses all the time? Like,
So is this your conspiracy theory?
no,
or is this-
I've never heard it, but it was just funny and interesting. So
is
we
there
were
one
talking
in
about
St.
sleep.
Michael?
There might be.
Albertville, right up by the
I
Alamo?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about how much on their website how much revenue they make versus like how many employees they have, and they're like, there should always, according to the math, there should always be like 3 employees in the store at this time. But then, whenever you pass it, there's like 1 car.
Maybe they're all
Like
related.
there's no one ever inside.
they all
the
live
store.
together. They
I
drive
don't know,
together.
it's just funny.
They're all roommates.
So sunrise service.
Right. Sunrise service at 6:30 in the great room. Pastor Dan Munson's going to be giving the message for that morning. And part of that service is we would love to do some baptisms.
Yeah.
If you have given your life to Jesus and you said, I want to follow you, yet haven't had a chance to express that through the act of baptism, we want to encourage you to get in touch with us. It's such a unique and special experience. It's really just symbolic. There's nothing, there's nothing magical about it other than you getting up in front of a bunch of people saying in a public way, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do with my life. This is who I want to serve and who I want to follow. And it's really cool. And you'll have the body of Christ there to cheer you on and support you. And you can invite your family, friends, maybe even somebody that you want to you've been talking to about your faith and all that kind of stuff, go on, bring them. Then there's going to be food after that. And up until, I don't think we decided when the food is going to be served until, but there'll be breakfast that morning along with the other 3 Easter services, 8, 9:15, and 10:45.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a packed weekend, but it's really exhausting, but
It is.
so fun. Like I don't know, it's Easter is great.
Right.
It's like the number one thing on our calendar for a reason as a Christ follower. So,
Yeah, and if you think about it, if Jesus never rose from the dead, like, this might not all be here.
no,
There would be no point
there'd
for
be
it
no
to
point
be
to be
here.
here. So,
And so the most important event in all of history is Jesus being resurrected from the dead by the power of God. And that's what we're going to celebrate this year again, like last year and every year, because it's the most important thing. Any questions about that? You can just let us know. You're welcome to invite anybody you want. You can share our event on our Facebook page to your page. That's a great way, so simple way to share and invite people in a real simple, passive way. All you got to do is just share it to your page, and they'll see it. Are you doing like a RSVP thing where?
no, I mean you could click going if you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't need to, though.
It's not an RSVP. It's just more a way to share.
Yeah.
The event is
So
easy
go to our
share.
Northridge page, share it, share the event with your friends, and that'd be awesome. You get as many people here to hear the gospel and to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus.
We're also going to have in the coming weeks, we'll have little business card size, like invite cards that'll look the same, just the graphic with the service times on it that you could just grab a stack of them here in the atrium if you're here in the building.
Yeah, and look forward. Did you submit that the graphic for the billboard?
Yep, we'll have the billboard going, the digital billboard that kind of sits behind. It'll be the same one as a couple years ago, behind the Chevy. Yeah, we're over here, right? Behind the Chevy dealership.
I always get mixed up.
If you are on the other side of 94, like by Cabela's, you could see it.
Yeah, is that Mills? No, that's it used to be some other Chevy dealership that Miller
Chevrolet.
Yes, because it looked like the Miller beer logo.
But you can't see it from the Chevy because that's the back side of it.
because it'll be like up here.
Yeah, but that's.
But if you go to the Cabela side, or if you're coming up 94, and you're heading west, you'll be able to see it. Don't crash, but tell your friends.
Yeah. The whole point is we want to share in the experience and celebrate what Jesus has done. And Easter is definitely the time to do that. So other things happening this weekend, this Saturday evening, the Saturday supper, the Taste of Northridge, which is a potluck. If you have your signature dish that you are just known for or something that you think you're really good at, we reserve the right to tell you if you're not. But no, if just bring it. It's fun just to see what will show up at a potluck. But there's links on the news and events page for more info on that. Part of that, Saturday supper immediately following it is the Missions on the Move. And
it's immediately following. It's not to take all of it.
Well,
together.
I mean, I should say, like after we eat, like in the same room, same place, like as we're finishing up eating.
Oh, you're right. It says 6 o'clock supper, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, but that 7 o'clock we noticed a little late, and 7 doesn't really mean it. If you're coming just for the presentation, come earlier.
Get some food.
Yeah, it's probably
We'll start more like 6:30, 6:45.
Yeah, because it doesn't take.
Because that'll get too late if they start at 7.
No, we'll start earlier. It'll be part of the.
You know Dan.
Yeah, I know Dan.
Do you know Dan?
Yep.
Yeah.
But the missions team is just really going through a big, not a change, but they're really kind of clearly defining some of the purposes behind different things.
Kind of a
what is
refocusing.
missions? What is make a difference? What in the community and just kind of looking at all that. And so it'll be a great time to look at or to hear about what's happening from a missions perspective.
Yeah.
So
if you're not bringing food, do you need to sign up for anything? Do you need
I don't think so.
RSVP for anything?
Maybe I should know.
I don't think you do.
Yeah.
I think if you're bringing something,
Because I should
just make sure you let
check.
us know, let Terry know.
No. Or you could serve. There's always
Yep. And if you're interested in
help
serving,
out.
you want to help set up tables, tear
Yeah,
down,
there's
clean
links
up,
for that.
all that kind of stuff. Go to the website, news and events, and then on the left-hand side, you'll see a graphic for the Saturday Supper Missions on the Move. And if you expand that, I don't know if you ever knew that, underneath the image, you see the little plus sign, and it expands and opens up for more information and any links that might be there that you would need to click on to get signed up. And it looks like there's plenty of openings to sign up to help. So we'd love for you to jump in. Or is that the photo door?
That's the food.
Oh, that's the food.
There's availability to bring
we
your
need
best
more
dish.
food. That would be helpful.
Even if it's your second best dish.
Yeah.
Because food, it's expensive right now. Maybe your main ingredient is like a little pricey.
It is.
Bring your second best dish.
Yeah. What else we got
unless
going
it's
on?
lutefisk.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else we have? Maybe, I don't know, maybe the last thing we could talk about is the picture directory.
Okay.
Church directory. I know we've talked about it last couple of podcasts, but Sean Nielsen is an excellent photographer. Always does a great job of taking family picture. And we do this every once in a while. He'll set up for the weekend, and you could sign up, come in, and get a nice picture taken of you, or you and your family, or whoever else is there. And we can use that in the church directory, the database, online database. But you also get copies of that for your own family to have. And it's funny, I saw some interaction on the life group, and someone saying they have 5 boys, 5 kids. They're like, they're only 5-minute slots. How's that work? But Sean is really good at like getting you in, getting you positioned, like click, click, click. Getting kids to laugh.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. Also, it's not this,
getting adults to laugh.
It's not this long photo shoot strung out thing. If you get everybody here, and you'll be in and out within 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's not like you're doing a whole bunch of different scenes and backgrounds or anything. It's just simple white background. But Sean's so talented. I mean, I could have all the same setup and this picture just wouldn't come out. But Sean does a great job. Speaking of Sean, took some pictures here last Wednesday.
Yeah, you were putting those up yesterday.
We got them all finished putting them up.
Yeah, make sure you stop in the hallway and look at
There's
the new
some fun
pictures.
ones. Lots of stuff from activities from Wednesday nights with our kids and our youth and some of the volunteers. So
when I first started interviewing for the job here at Northridge, the first day I pulled up to the church. And to be honest with you, I pulled up into the parking lot. I was like, well, this will be interesting. Because, the outside isn't very flashy looking. But then the second I walked inside, and it just had this really warm feeling.
Yeah.
Just kind of homey, welcoming feeling. And what I really was keying in on was the pictures that Sean had taken and put up on the walls in these same frames. Because it tells you a story of the life of Northridge, just in the picture of kids playing, families, shows you the connections that are happening, all that kind of stuff. So
we are not a church that will tell kids to stop running.
No.
In fact, I have heard Ben tell kids, "Run faster."
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I've never told.
It's always fun when a parent will say, like, I'll hear them tell their kids, "Oh, you don't run in church." I'm
That's
like,
okay.
I'll try to not in front of the kid, but tell them, like, if it's okay with you, it's okay with it. Like, let them run. That kid, that's my kid. That's climbing on stuff. Yeah. It's a fun place to be a kid in church. So
yeah, well, it should be.
It should be, absolutely.
Why would we want to be the ones to create a negative imprint on a young person's mind?
Nope.
So
don't want my kids to like dread going to church.
Right.
Yeah. So there's lots of other things. There's a men's softball league starting, or men's team. You could go on our news and events page. You could see where to sign up for that if you're interested in playing. The youth have a cultural day coming up, which is a trip down to the Midtown Global Market downtown, which is a really cool indoor, kind of the, like a cultural bazaar. kind of, yeah. Like different shops, different restaurants.
Interesting.
Well, because we use that word for like strange, right?
How bizarre.
How bizarre. Yeah, anyway. lots of stuff. News and events page. Check it out. All the info's there. Relevant ways to sign up or to RSVP if you need to do any of that.
Just a quick note: if you're a student that's in 6th or 7th grade, your parent doesn't need to accompany you because it is, downtown.
And it's a big indoor place, easy to get lost. And, turns out 6th, 7th grade kids, they think they know what they're doing all the time.
Yeah. Well, you have one, don't you?
Yeah, they don't. They don't. But anyway, could use some drivers, I think, chaperones and drivers. So.
Right. Need to bring a little cash because you're going to eat a meal down there.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
There's a lot of cool souvenirs. If you ever travel to another country, they always have little stands and all that kind of stuff. Trinkets. And they'll have all that stuff for sale.
Look at what I got for my big day downtown.
Yeah. A little
in
Buddha.
Minneapolis. Yeah. Cool.
What is that it?
Let's move on. Well, there's other things, but I mean, good news and events page. Those are the biggest things coming up. So, yeah, a lot of other stuff like next coming months, and so the new build, the offices are looking good.
Yeah, they're getting close.
I don't know what
we're getting close to being able to move in, right?
Think so.
Doug was actually in his office yesterday.
Was he?
He was on the phone, sitting on the chair.
Oh,
it's really
probably
excited.
Shouldn't have said that.
Why?
I don't think we're supposed to be in there.
Oh, I don't know. If that's
He wasn't like on an office phone. He
was on his own
cell phone and just walked through.
But yeah, I think he's always looking for a private place to talk on the phone. And
cool.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I want to talk about, and this is actually, if you were here, if you watched last week's, you knew what this little weird thing that I did was. I had a list of topics, 6 of them, and I brought
made us roll the dice.
I had a pair of dice. I had a single. Back
half
to
a
this
pair.
again. I had a half a pair of dice, which is a die.
Had half a pair.
I'm just going to call it. I had some dice, and we rolled the dice, and that was determined what number we were going to talk about in terms of the topic. And last week we talked about deconstruction, which I think was actually a pretty good conversation. You guys had a lot of good input. I shared some of the things that I had been learning, watching, listening to online. And we even had somebody share that they had a process of deconstruction when they were younger, and it brought them back into faith. And I asked, I asked them if they'd be willing to even come on the podcast and share, and they were going to think about it. So, having said that, if you are out there and you went through a deconstruction of your faith process, or you're even in it right now, and you want to talk to somebody, if you'd like to come and share your story with us on the podcast, will be really nice. Promise. At least I will. I don't know about him.
We'll try.
But we would love to walk with you and journey with you and hear from you, share your story, because I promise you that you're not alone and there's other people out there. And so even if you went through something like that, you share your story. I guarantee it'll be beneficial to somebody else. Yeah. I had a conversation with a young man who is currently going through a deconstruction of his faith and really thinking about his theology and all that kind of stuff. Really exciting stuff. There's a little bit of trepidation just because everything that you thought you knew is sort of up in the air at the moment. And so, but he's really excited because a lot of other things are just exploding in his mind and in his heart. So it was really cool.
Yeah,
really cool to hear about that. This week, we don't have the dice. We don't have Mike. We kind of screwed up with Mike. He showed up at 12, and so he'll be back. But instead of rolling the dice, one of the things on my list that I was kind of hoping it would roll, but even though we had a great discussion about deconstruction, but I was hoping it would land on this one, was the 5 stories that we tell ourselves was on the list, or the 5 voices, or the 5 narratives. And where this is coming from is...
Yeah, you got to say it.
Yeah, I was going to say that, because the next podcast or that was talking about...
Intellectual property theft
right.
in the church.
And they said on that one... Okay, both Greg and I are fans of a pastor out in the LA area. His name is Erwin McManus at a church called Mosaic. And his son, Aaron, started a podcast, I want to say 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Well, he intended to start it because he was battling some anxiety and depression and some mental stuff. And so he wanted to create a podcast that where he could talk about some of this stuff because it's rarely talked about in the church. And so it was sort of his side project that he started. It didn't always start with just him and his dad on. He always had other guests. He always kind of talked on his own. But his dad wasn't a regular guest on this podcast until actually more recently.
Okay.
But Erwin, the pastor, probably for the last year and a half straight has been the main. Yeah. It's been Erwin and Aaron McManus on this podcast. And Battle Ready. You can just search it on Apple or on Spotify. You can find it really easy. You can also find Erwin McManus or Mosaic on all of these platforms, Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. They're on YouTube as well if you like seeing it. Sometimes seeing it is kind of fun because Erwin has his own clothing line that Greg likes to poke fun of the fashion. He's got he's got an interesting fashion sense, which you should be accustomed to because you're also from California.
So what's that even mean? What's that mean?
I don't know. Hollywood. Anyway, it looks like he's wearing sometimes looks like he's wearing some quilted blanket on his pants.
It's just been refashioned into shorts.
Right. But anyway, Battle Ready.
He's a creative-minded guy. It's just.
He's very creative, very artsy fartsy.
That's fine.
Yes.
It's just not stuff I would wear.
Right. I would love to see you wear it though. If I could afford I could afford a square inch of the clothing because it sells for an outrageous amount of money.
Who's buying it?
Like $300 for those pair of pants that you loved.
No.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Like $200 for a hat. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, they did a podcast. And it really wasn't about. It didn't start about these 5 stories. It started with a bunch of Russia-Ukraine stuff.
Yeah.
And then it kind of blended into the 5 stories that we tell ourselves. And it's a new idea. So just to kind of his credit and just kind of ease our way into this conversation, it's something that Erwin is developing on himself. Within himself. And he even preached on it that week before. Mm-hmm. You can go to Mosaic Podcast and listen to the same sermon where he lays out all these 5 different voices. And he said, this is a process that I'm developing, and I'm going to roll this out over the next several weeks, kind of at my own pace. Yeah. It's not really a sermon series. It's just these ideas. And I thought they were so interesting.
Let me interject just one thing. In case, if you're not familiar with Erwin McManus, never heard him speak or anything. He uses a lot of. He's in Hollywood, and that's the crowd he's reaching. So he will say often, like, I'm reaching the creatives, the artisans, and he's really taken by story and by elements that go into creating stories and things like that. So he uses a lot of verbiage and a lot of terminology that honestly we don't otherwise use in church very often. In fact, he's gotten a lot of criticism for a lot of that over the years.
People questioning whether he was a Christ follower at all.
Yeah, it's just he's just using words differently, and it's not like...
Which is absurd, because if you listen to him...
Right, he's fairly conservative scripturally, but...
Yeah.
And most people don't know that it's a Baptist church.
Yeah.
So, anyway... So some of his terminology feels or seems different or weird because you don't often hear that from a pastor or in a sermon necessarily. But when you really hear what he's saying, it's ties well in with Scripture. So
he's incredibly intelligent.
Yeah, he's really sharp,
and he's very thoughtful in what comes out in a verbal way. And so these are 5 voices, 5 narratives that he believes we often live within. And sometimes we live within one of these more often than the others. Sometimes we kind of move around. And what he was wanting to get at was, which one do we feel like we kind of live within the most and identify with the most. And so I wanted to go through each of these 5 things, talk about it a little bit, and I don't really have a point. I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And hear your thoughts, get them out to you, and encourage you to go listen to not only the Battle Ready podcast but the sermon on Mosaics on their podcast channel. So these are the 5 voices, 5 stories that we tell ourselves. The first one, it doesn't matter which one we start with, right?
Are you just going in order that he did it, or?
I'm just going in order that I wrote them in here. The first one is Martyr.
The Martyr? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all an identity. And the first one is the Martyr. The Martyr is a people pleaser. This is kind of from a lot of some of the words that he said. Some of them are also things that I just kind of was thinking about looking up online, and also experienced myself. Kind of a quiet bitterness. Somebody who believes that they're the only one who cares. They kind of live a life of quiet suffering and sadness. Do you know any martyrs? Not just somebody who dies for their faith, because that's another definition of a martyr, someone who suffers for their faith.
Is the martyr the one he talked about also, like they feel like they're the only one that cares about something, or was that the martyr, or am I getting ahead?
Yeah, that's what I did say, that believe that they're the only one who cares.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm trying to look for the sermon to share the link. I missed that one.
Yeah, Greg's going to drop the link in the comments section.
Maybe. I don't know if I could do 2 things at once. Do
you-
we want the Battle Ready link or the sermon?
Maybe both.
Okay.
You can do both. So that's number 1, is the martyr. Number 2 is the victim. The victim doesn't listen for solutions. They always believe that life happens to them, and they're living in this kind of constant state of, trauma.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and this is what Erwin said, I thought was really insightful. He said they experience a trauma. So this is a challenge for the victim, is they experience a trauma that legitimizes their feelings of being a victim. But what happens is they let that define who they are their whole life.
Yeah.
So they let that one experience, which could be a
legitimate thing, but
right.
you don't.
And so you
you're
can't
not
really
able
shoot
to move
it down,
out of it, or
but they're having a hard time moving past it, and they let that define who they are. And one of the cool things that he was saying about the victims, and this is kind of cool to say, an insight that he had about the victim when it comes to, are you living your own story, is that victims are never living their own story. They're always a character in somebody else's story. They're never the main character in their own story.
Yeah.
The victim is always a secondary or third character in somebody else's story. Until you take ownership of your story, you will always kind of remain in that spot. Which I thought that was kind of, but you hear that all the time about victim mentality.
Yeah.
People who always seem to play that victim in circumstances. Greg, you're just telling me about one. I don't want to say anything, but that's number 2 is the victim. The third one is the abdicator, which I was struggling to find out if that was a real word.
Abdicator?
Yeah, abdicate.
I think so.
Yeah, when you abdicate responsibility, what do?
Push it off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the abdicator, it washes his hands of problems, kind of like Pilate.
Is the example he used, yeah.
Always feel like they're innocent. He says that they don't do anything good, but they also don't do anything, or they don't do anything bad, but they also don't do anything good.
That statement stuck out to me.
There was another statement that stuck out to you that I thought was cool too.
Yeah, but that's statement in the
one.
sermon, that statement stuck out to me more than anything. Is someone that doesn't necessarily do anything bad, but they don't do anything good. And because we hear that, we use that language. We're like, I'm generally a good person. I don't do anything. I'm not a murderer.
No.
I don't do anything really bad.
Yeah, but you don't really do anything really good either.
Right. What are you doing that's actually just good?
Or you could say they didn't do anything wrong, but they also
never
don't
did
do anything
right.
right.
Yeah.
And so that's the abdicator.
Yeah.
Never really wants to get their hands dirty. Just kind of wants to make somebody else deal with it, make somebody else be responsible for it, make somebody else make the decisions. The hero, and I love his reaction because he thinks that when he says that, Erwin sees people kind of get excited about that because they think, well, this is going to be, my story. But what he describes as the hero is the hero thinks that they're God's gift to the world, that they usually are more likely than, instead of the hero, they're usually the terrible villain.
Yeah.
The most dangerous person, this is a quote that you put up on your Facebook last week or the week, when I saw it,
I stopped and typed it.
Right. When I saw it on your Facebook, I hadn't actually listened to the podcast yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the most dangerous person is a person who doesn't try to do what's right, but think that whatever they do is right.
Yeah.
They are the source of truth, the source of goodness, the source of rightness.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
the
want
hero.
to do what is right.
Yeah.
It's just, and the term that we hear a lot is like my truth.
Yeah.
And it just drives me crazy when someone says that I just gotta speak my
live my
truth or speak my truth. It's like
that's making truth relative
yeah
to that individual
Yeah.
or that circumstance or that moment where
and then who defines what is right and wrong?
Right.
You do.
Yeah.
Like you're the source of what? How do you end it? You're the source of
yeah, well, they're the source. You become the source of truth. You become
Yeah.
the source of goodness
Yeah.
or rightness.
Yeah.
Those are all Erwin's words, not mine.
Yeah.
But that's the hero, and that doesn't sound like a good thing. But we want, we like that label of hero. But when you think
he
you're,
used the example of villains in like superhero movies,
yeah,
the villains often think that they are the hero, right? Or they're acting as though they're some like
give me an example.
I'm not good on superhero.
Oh, come on.
Well, Bane, doesn't he have like his
Yeah,
whole
he
group,
gave
like he gives that
Well,
speech.
okay,
Man,
here's
it's been
the-
so long
here's
since I saw that. I just realized maybe I
the
should do that.
Batman one.
Jordan asked me last night because Jordan and the kids are out of town for a week.
It's the one that talks like this. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
but Jordan goes, so what show are you going to binge this week? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone out there, but maybe I should go watch some of the old Batman, like The Dark Knight, and not the George Clooney version that we were
No,
talking about.
the
earlier, yeah. But didn't Bane, he had his following of people. It's like,
all the motorcycle riders.
yeah, we're going to, or even the Joker.
What did
In the movie at the end of the Joker?
The
Well,
Joker just
maybe-
wanted to see the world burn.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking of the end of that movie. It's not a spoiler, but like when he's standing on the hood of the car, and like all the
Yeah, but I don't
crazies are around him, are like kind of propping him up, and it's like a very heroic scene, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he was super he didn't. I don't think he sort of walked into that. I don't think he intended for those people to eventually rally around him like that. And so then at that moment when he got up on the cop car, it was sort of him embracing the results of
Yeah,
his actions and then taking the reins of it. But the one guy that I think of, and this is what makes him one of the more interesting deep villains,
Darth Vader.
Thanos.
Oh yeah, Thanos. Yeah,
Because he actually had some thought, some psychology behind why he was doing what he was doing. Because he was seeing that people's existence, whether you're alien or you're earthlings or whatever in the Marvel universe, too many people was causing a problem. And his solution was to eliminate half the people, because that would create more resources for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
you hear talk like that.
overpopulation
talk
here in
about
the United
stuff like that.
States, right?
It's not if you think that it's overpopulated, take a drive.
I'm not saying it is.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying hypothetically, you
Take a drive
people
where?
around the country. Have you ever
Okay.
driven across this country?
Yes.
Nothing but corn.
Yeah. Yes.
Corn.
But
open
if there's
fields.
corn there, how are people going to live there?
There's plenty of room.
There's plenty of
Yeah.
room, or there's plenty of food. There's
Both.
plenty of resources
Yeah.
for the people in the United States.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
We're not overpopulated. It's just that we all like
the
to
Earth
live.
isn't overpopulated?
It's just that we cluster in the same general areas, right? We, I don't know what the percentage. It's very high. Live around a metropolitan area, which I mean makes sense, right?
We should build more cities out in the ocean,
Yes,
like
exactly.
Water World,
Get Costner on this.
because there's so much space out in the water, on the ocean. Why aren't we utilizing that?
Right.
Or underwater.
Underwater.
Atlantis.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
Yes. Let's do it.
Plenty of resources underwater.
There's plenty of
You
resources.
could grow corn.
Yeah, and
under
it's
there.
probably only like a 2-hour trip to get back up to the surface
Right.
and onto land.
There's nothing complicating this at all.
Right. If we can put people
Just
in
go.
space, we can create bio
If we could get people living on Mars,
ecosystems underwater.
sure.
Yeah. Wow.
This has been science
where we're-
with Andy and Greg.
So Thanos
Diane, this is why we talk about baseball.
has kind of he has an ethical reason for his being
Yeah,
a villain.
yeah.
Or
Right.
he thinks
He
he's
thinks
the
he's
hero.
the hero
Because he
and-
thinks what he's
yep.
doing is righteous
Yep.
and right. And that's what the hero does. You never want to trust a hero that knows or believes that they're the hero
Yeah.
of the story. And then the last one is the servant. And obviously, in this context, you immediately think of Jesus. And Jesus is not the only servant. There's
But
others.
it's the best example.
There's
and
other
that's what
people
he
that
uses.
put others first.
Yeah.
There's other people that they're not thinking about themselves, but about others. And it's a really simplistic concept. The servant is. That's all they do is they serve others. They put others first. Consider others more highly than yourselves.
Yeah.
And they seek to live a life to serve other people around them. And those are the five. So those are the 5 stories that we tell ourselves, the 5 voices that we hear in our head. I'm trying to collectively put all the words together that I've heard him talk about this,
Yeah.
that create narratives for our lives that oftentimes, if we live within that voice long enough, it can really determine sort of the trajectory of your life. Like the victim. If you are telling yourself the victim your entire life, that becomes your lifelong identity. And so one of the things that he talked about with Aaron, and there was a couple other people in their production booth, and it sounded like they were having a conversation with another group of people earlier, like a day or so, or whatever, a couple days before, the night before. He asked, and this is a question for you out there, is which of these voices do you think that you listen to the most, or that you identify with the most? So I'll run through them again. The martyr, the victim, the abdicator, the hero, or the servant. And not which one do you want to be, because I think if we're all, saying the right thing, we're all going to say, oh, I want to be the servant, right?
We're going to be like Jesus.
Yeah, that's the one that we want to ascribe to, or strive to be. I think Aaron, it was funny because Aaron kept messing up. He was like, well, isn't it the hero or the servant? He's like, no, you don't want to be the hero.
Well, his point, too, is like if you look at the best superheroes, like in stories and movies or whatever, they're the servant. Like,
Yeah.
he was Captain America.
And
right?
Superman.
And Superman.
Yep.
And,
They never came and told everybody that they're the hero.
Yeah.
They never call themselves the hero.
And they're always doing what's best for others.
Yep. Captain America being probably the best example of that.
Yeah.
So, Greg, which one of these voices do you kind of identify that you feel like you listen to the most? Not who do you want to be? Which
Yeah.
one do you feel like?
And this is a hard one because it's like, this is what I was saying about Irwin is he uses he does stuff like this where you don't, the genius is that it gets you thinking about it, but the hard thing is like you've never thought about that before.
Right.
So I think most of us move in and out of these things throughout our life.
Sure.
Maybe back and forth often through different, depending on life experience and personality and all that stuff. But
So which one do you feel like you've kind of lived within the most? And I'm not going to make fun of you if you say servant. You want me to go first?
Yeah. So I think my
I'm willing to go first.
biggest weakness is that I'm too good. That's what it sounds. That's what it feels like if you're gonna say servant. Like, I just feel bad about
That,
it.
well, that's okay. So one of the things that Aaron brought up, his son, he's like, these are all like negative things. You got 4 negative things and 1 positive thing.
Right. So
and
it's hard to.
So he did admit that in taking time to develop these ideas more, that he was going to, because there are certain moments where being an abdicator, could be a positive thing, or being
Because abdicator, well, maybe you're
there's obviously
delegator of some
delegation.
Right.
There's positive aspects of a martyr. When you die for your faith, that's a positive thing. And so there's more to come in terms of the thoughts.
Yeah.
But
I think the overall goal of like that particular message, or at least how he introduced it, was to examine, like, are you stuck in one of these more negative ones? Or at least that's why I take it. Wow, am I constantly telling myself I'm the only one that cares about this? And, because that's definitely not true.
Right.
But am I constantly just like not taking any responsibility and letting other people just...
Well, let's come at it from this angle, because, obviously we can sit and have the same conversation that they had, and there's really not any point to that, because we wouldn't do it nearly as eloquently as Erwin and Aaron would do it. So just go listen to their podcast. But what if we came at it from a different angle? And if you're willing to, I'll do it first. But if you're willing to take an honest look and stab at your life and say, this is an area in my life where I think I probably could grow, and this is something that I see in myself. Maybe you see it, maybe others see it, and they'll be like, okay, we've been waiting for you to point it out. But this is an area that I see in myself, in one of these areas that I feel like I could grow and do something in a positive direction. For me, it's the abdicator. I live in this middle of the road existence way too much, where I'm more willing to just let other people make a decision, let other people be responsible. Because not only if you're going to make the decision, you got to be responsible for it. I'm more willing to just kind of wash my hands with things and just let other people go and do it, and be in more of this neutral position where I'm not moving forward nor really moving backward. And another word to put it, I get lazy.
Yeah.
I'm lazy sometimes, and I'm willing to just let life move past me if I don't have to, because part of me just gets tired feeling like I'm responsible for other people. Being responsible for myself seems like enough most days, and I don't like making decisions that have the potential to impact somebody's life in an extreme way, even if it's positive, because there's always that risk that it might hurt. It might have a negative impact, and I'm just going to mitigate that by not doing anything. That's just a place that I kind of live in frequently, that I struggle with. And I don't always act upon it, but those are some of the thoughts and the feelings that go through me as I'm looking at, whether it's stuff related to my family, even stuff up here, as a leader. There's times where Ben's like, I need you to step up and be a leader. And that's the rub.
I want to be a leader.
That's the rub of being a leader. I want to be lazy, So that's me. I'm the abdicator.
Yeah. I tend to, I don't remember, what was between martyr and abdicator again?
Victim.
What's it? I don't remember which one is. I tend to take things on myself and not, like, I will just,
that'd be the martyr.
Yeah, just like, I'll just do it. I'll just do it.
That'd be the martyr.
Yeah. And you do have to be careful, because it is easy. It's a slippery slope, right? I mean, if you find yourself doing that all the time, I'll take care of it. Just don't worry about it. I'll get it. Then the inner monologue is like, well, I'm always the one that has to take care of this. Like, no one else cares. And
What is it? Part
of that is just
is it a trust thing for you, or is it?
No. So here's where it's going to sound really like prideful, but I really don't mean it. I think it's just,
You want to serve them.
it is kind of
Yeah.
that's always one of my higher, like, spiritual gift tests or whatever, assessments, servant. That's, or gift of helps. Like, that's, I don't know. I feel like I'm putting somebody out. If I ask them to do something, or if it's something I could do myself, or ask for help, I feel like I'm putting them out. Don't worry, I'll just do it. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess that's not healthy.
Sometimes. Sometimes it's very
Sometimes
nice.
it's servant.
It's very thoughtful.
There's a
sometimes.
fine line between
Right.
servant and martyr.
And so we live with these gray lines constantly, every day.
Yeah.
That there's some small nuances. And I think that we create those blurs in our head by the choices that we make coming out of the thoughtful moments. Like we have these thoughts. Some of it's more intuitive. We just react. And I think the more that we live in one of these areas, the more involuntary it becomes because we're used to it.
Yeah.
It becomes more habit. If we live in this victim mentality, the more that we do that, the older that we get, the more easily we'll be able to jump to that mindset in response to something. But sometimes it's more nuanced than that. We sit and think about things, and there's unclear lines between certain ways of thinking and approaching and seeing things. I'm excited to hear more thoughts on the way he develops this, and I don't know if it has any tremendous bearing on day-to-day life, but
I want to see how it fleshes out a little bit, and how far he goes into moving out of one area and into, how, not that everything's that clean, like you move through steps into, servant, you really look a lot more like Jesus now. But I think I shared with you years ago, he had a thing called the character matrix that it feels similar. And that sounds like character matrix. It sounds so like, I don't know, like
kinda
self-helpy
anagrams
or
crap.
yeah. But it's really good. Basically, what he was trying to do there is moving people into really good, what we would call like Christ-like characters, like generosity and servanthood and different things. And so it was like, hey, if you're, man, I can't even, it's been so long. I just remember
Was it in a book of his or just?
I don't remember. I had him in for a couple classes in seminary, so it may have been in there. But there is a thing where, like, if you're, selfish, moving from being self-centered to servanthood, and like what that might take, or moving from, what's the opposite of generosity or generous? Greed, or moving from here to there, and then like steps on what you can do to get there, kind of thing.
Sure. Or what counteracts this
Yeah.
mindset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it'd be interesting if he comes up with some ideas around that.
Yeah.
Like what does it take for a Christ follower to move from, martyr or abdicator or, any of these steps into servant?
Well, and what I like about this isn't necessarily some emphatic Christian biblical message, but I think you can connect it with faith.
But see, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It is, if you back up and look at it, because what he's
For
doing
sure.
is like, Jesus is our model. Like, what does he look like? Like, who is he? He's the servant here in this story.
That's why I think
And he wraps things into like a terminology or a picture that doesn't always look like it's a sermon, more or less.
Right.
But he's
But it ends
teaching.
up being what? Yeah, he's teaching,
Right,
and he's teaching the Bible.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the characters that he connects, the identities that he connects with
Yeah,
these
he
people,
uses biblical examples. Yeah.
people in the Bible.
Yep.
But that's what I mean is it's an easy on-ramp for non-church people, non-biblical literate people, non-Christians, to hear something in a way that they could relate to.
Yeah.
But then move them on this path towards the ultimate voice, which is the servant, and the example of that is Jesus, which I think is,
Yeah.
beautiful the way he does
Yeah.
that thing. That's where I was. That's where I was saying working at a higher level of intelligence than most people are at.
Yeah. He's an intelligent man.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Greg, on that?
Um,
Yeah. Did you put the links in there?
No, I was
You got
having
this-
a hard time. No, what's funny is like on their website, I was trying to find
You
just
can't-
web
you
links. So like some people might not use Spotify or might not use
Sure.
Apple. So I was going to the website to find links, and they're titled. The sermons are titled differently on their website than they are on the podcast.
Sure.
Their website.
Well, why don't you just use YouTube links?
I was going to do that, but the titles were different, and I didn't want to delve into description. I was just going to do it
Sure.
after.
Let me drop one in here just because it's good. It gives more detail about each of these ideas. And if you want to hear more, then you could hear him and his son Aaron talk about it. And so I'm going to put this link. What is Miller? What does that mean?
Oh, he was talking about the Chevy dealership.
Oh,
Glenn
okay.
Walker.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.
So that YouTube link is to a sermon,
Yeah.
the stories we tell ourselves that he delivered at Mosaic a couple weeks ago. And if you want to hear
That's good.
more, you can listen to the Battle Ready, which I'm pretty much there.
Do it. And
I'll just drop that into the
you're
chat.
used to that kind of stuff because you're used to talking and running sound from your iPad and playing guitar and doing your little kick drum.
The little kick drum.
You're like the one-man band guy, so you could type and talk.
I'm seeming to have a problem with it right now.
I can't type.
In the moment.
I can't type and talk because I have to look at the letters and find them on the keyboard.
So here's is it like
Yeah,
Little House on the Prairie Day?
It's like a dress-up day at the.
Oh, this
for
is
the
like homeschool mom
It's
day.
the homeschool group.
So
But
that
they're
is
having like a Pioneer Day or something like that.
Right,
So it's
that's-
just funny. They're all dressed like they're in Little House on the Prairie.
that's the Battle Ready podcast along with
Yeah.
the YouTube link to the sermon. And if you like it, if you don't, we didn't make this up. I admire Erwin. I'm gonna speak for myself. I really like Erwin. He's taught me a lot. He makes me think a lot, and so we just thought we'd share some of these things with you, get a conversation going. That's about it, Greg. You have anything else you want to say before we leave?
No. Sorry for being late.
That's okay. Love
You're
the
used to it.
warmer weather.
Oh, you could have dropped my favorite line to you. I'm used to it. You could have given it back to me.
I don't. Homie,
Jordan
don't.
actually texted me. Jordan and the kids.
Homie, don't play that.
Jordan and the kids are at her mom's house
Okay.
in California, and she said it's so hot right now.
Jordan.
Yeah.
You
She said
can,
it's hot. It was nicer by the beach. They landed in Orange County. Used to be called John Wayne Airport.
it's like 41 degrees today, isn't it?
Yeah. And here's pictures of my kids already in the pool.
I don't want to see that. The infinity pool? Is it an infinity
Yeah.
pool? Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. Hope to see you this weekend, Sunday morning, 9 and 10:30. And